Hello, my name is Jason, and I'm the Game Master. I cover everything Pathfinder 2nd Edition, including in-depth adventure path reviews, tips for players, and hints on how to hit the elite template on your GMing. I'm also a full-time professional game master, so if you'd like to play a game with me, check me out on startplaying.com. You can also get a hold of me over at my Discord, and if you'd like to support me, I also have a Patreon. Links to all that stuff is down below. Thanks for joining me down here again in the Abomination Vaults. This time we're entering the lab, and we're actually about halfway down now. In the last time that we set up a major piece of the Otari drama, but that's not all. If you've read ahead, you know now that soon, once again, the party will have to make another choice regarding Carmen Rajani, but that doesn't have to be it. It was around this time that I started to place my own spin on things once again. I mentioned in my video on Otari, the first one in this series, that there are some NPCs that I used a little bit more than there in the adventure path itself, but they didn't get a lot of detail, but I decided to make them a bigger part of my game that I ran. If you want to use some more of the NPCs and keep the drama going in town, here's what I did. I started mentioning around this point that it was election season, and for most people in town, it's just another foregone conclusion that Osef is going to be mayor once again. However, this year is a bit different. The other lumber barons in town are putting their own resources through another candidate. In my game, it was Carmen, but really this could be just about anybody in the campaign, even a player. Ali Mora, Inkelholtz, and Rab Churtel send a message to the PCs and ask them to come by one of their manors because they have something to speak with them about. If the party agrees, the lumber barons tell the party that they suspect Osef has been conspiring to keep their businesses down and to increase his own profits. It is fairly sketchy that the biggest businessman in town is also the mayor, and this whole situation is very ripe for conflicts of interest. They tell the party that there's been sabotage at several of their work sites. And if your party is anything like mine, they may have mixed feelings about Osef already, so this may serve to kind of reinforce some of those, which is a good thing, kind of helps provide like buy-in for the players. In reality, Ali Mora and Rab are being manipulated by the devils on the next floor down from the one we're going to cover today. They have sent an agent to present them with false records to help influence them, which the party can receive and look at, because Ali Mora or Rab will be happy to hand them over to show them what they have. In my game, I used Yin for this purpose, the devils having replaced her actually with a double sometime before. My party asked to see the records, and they accepted it. And if they're unsure of their legitimacy, though, you can always have them roll a decipher writing or a sense forgery. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a perception or a society check, and the DC you use is the society check of the society DC of the person who created the forgery. You can always use Eruvian, the leader of the devils. Use his society check. He has a pretty good one for this if they want to do that. With the degrees of success exactly are kind of up to you here, but I would say that even on a critical success, it just reveals that it's a forgery, but not anything about who created it, because that's kind of the whole drama of the situation. You don't want to give that away too soon. The ultimate goal here for Eruvian is to have somebody incompetent, like Carmen, or distracted, like one of the PCs, to be the mayor so that way that they can continue to distract and disrupt things in Otari. My party wanted to go out and investigate one of the work sites, so make sure you've got something ready for that. Keep in mind that you can use Clort over at the Giant's Wheel, because he works for Osef. He handles lumber for all three companies, though, so you can say that he's been slowing things down and processing Osef's lumber first and backing things up for Rab and Ali Mora, even though everyone is supposed to be treated the same. If they go and talk to Yin, have them roll a perception check to see if they notice that maybe she's acting a little bit odd, maybe she had some particular mannerisms that she's no longer doing, or she's acquired some new ones. Maybe there's a secret hideout that was used by the Osprey Club, but now that it's been taken over by the devils. That way that they can investigate this, and it's a place for them to find clues so that they can understand what's really going on. I did create like a whole little like mini dungeon for this, but really this should be more of an investigation and like a political, side game than anything else, because they're already up to their eyeballs in dungeons in this campaign anyway. The goal here is to continue to make Otari an interesting and dynamic place, something more than just a store and a place to sleep at night. Your party may or may not really be into this, so you're going to have to judge for yourself what they're going to get out of it, and all the details of this, of course, can be changed. Maybe it's not the devils behind it. Maybe it's the Sugathi. Maybe it's a different piece. Maybe a different NPC should be the contender for the mayoral spot. Maybe the goal here, if the Sugathi are behind it, maybe they're trying to kidnap humans for like raw materials, because humans are kind of rare in the vaults themselves. Who knows? This is very like wide open. You could do this 1,000 different ways. Tailor this probably if you have like a social NPC or a social PC, like a bard or something, who has been kind of struggling because there's not too many people to really talk to. This is a great opportunity to let them shine. This is a pretty easy situation. You can drop pretty much any point into the campaign. For me, the situation ended with a party finding all the proof that they needed. Some of it they found in the hideout, in the Osprey Club hideout. Some of it they found in the dungeons themselves that I just placed. And they found all the evidence. Osif ended up being on the level. Whether or not the other lumber barons were just tricked or that they were knowing conspirators with somebody in the dungeon is, of course, up to you. My party had fun with this, and it's just a nice change of pace from fight all the time. The more you put into Otari, the more you're going to get out of it. So take the time and make it an interesting place to be in. But now let's get into the dungeon. If they go down the spiral staircase, they're going to find themselves in F1 and facing an old buddy, a Grothel, and someone new, a Sugathi. The Sugathis are honestly not very difficult in combat. The Mind Fog aura is pretty easy to save against, and their spell list is meh at best. Feel free to switch it out, change up their spells. I switch out spells all the time. F3 has an encounter that I've never actually run. In both of my games, I had PCs get knocked down from the level above and into the Hydra Lake. They wisely ran, but if you run this as written, they're just going to go from the frying pan to the fire if they're by themselves or just even with just one other person. I ended up just deleting this. I never ran it because 2 encounters going wrong at the same time, when you already have one person by themselves and the encounter upstairs, which now has at least one less PC than it was meant for, it's just gonna be a lot for everybody involved. So use your judgment on whether or not you really want to run this one. I covered this one a little bit in a previous video, but the encounter in the deep pool should be run differently based on what kind of situation it is when you're forced to be running it. If a player falls, then you're going to want to really telegraph the fact that there is something in the water here and give them plenty of chance to get out. If the party's all together, and then you can just run it as written, it's fine. Even with the Hydras being slowed too in the beginning of this, it's going to be way too much for one PC and probably even 2 by themselves. So be ready to adjust and have it straight in your head what you're going to do depending on how things are going when you are running this. The Water Devil in F5 needs something interesting to say. The text says that it's been sent here as a spy by the devils to spy on the Suagathis for Arivian, but it doesn't give any particular information that he's found out or that he's looking for or anything like that. Come up with some questions that it can ask the party using its telepathy. Maybe it can just delegate some of its work to them instead, especially that considering for a spy, It's pretty terrible. It's how would it be? It doesn't really make it much sense because it's very large. How is it getting through these hallways? It doesn't look like anything else in this level. So for a spy, this would be a pretty bad choice. But maybe you can just delegate some of its work. Maybe it wants them to ask around the bar and find out what's going on over there, or get a detailed look at the behemoth over in the arena. Of course, it'll need something to trade the party for that, so be ready to give them something. If they're successful with with whatever information that it wants to get, maybe they get the effect of a critical success of a creature of their choice on like a recall knowledge check. This encounter is ripe to be something more than just another fight, so make sure to like spice it up a little bit. Your players will be happy to have the opportunity to do something besides just roll initiative, likely at this point. And this whole level really has a lot of opportunity for roleplay, so take advantage of it. The plinth room is pretty simple, but I just want to mention here that if you're running it on Foundry like me, I like to leave lots of little notes around hidden and just to sort of remind myself of certain things. What I did here was just to remind myself of like which key unlocks which plinth. I do it all the time with all kinds of different stuff, so just use all the tools that are available to you is really the point of this, so that way you can be running smoothly during your session. You're not scrambling to find what's on this thing on what page and slowing down the game. It's better to just leave yourself all the notes that you can. Your party may have gotten a glimpse of this creature if they were unlucky to get teleported from below, or from above, I guess. This Suagathi is taking notes on the Destrachan, which sounds like a website that you probably go on a list if you go visit to me. By itself, this creature is basically no threat, but you can have it be very interested in the party, wanting to figure out how they work, and take a lot of notes on them because these are mad scientists after all. The party is likely to want to kill this guy anyway, but at least it gives them a reason as to why it's here and what it's doing, and sort of an insight onto what they're like, rather than just being some weird random monster here just doing stuff. The Destrachan in area F9 is an AoE monster. This encounter was just a nightmare. My party teleported here from the area above, and it's still a tough encounter now, even facing it at the proper level. Echolocation means you're probably not going to be sneaking up on this thing, and with the space being how it is, it's likely that you're not going to be hitting less than 2 people, and likely 3 with each one of these AoE attacks. While the encounter math in PF2E is generally very good, sometimes you do run across monsters that hit above their level, and this is definitely one of them. The Afflicted Urnicurse in Prisoner Processing is another example where this is definitely true. Storm of Tentacles, if 4 attacks at different targets with no map penalty until all the attacks have been resolved, is brutal. Having a 10-foot reach and reactive strikes and the Soul Scream ability, which gives Stupefied even on a success, is very tough. Normally, ranged characters with bows and such are at kind of a disadvantage in this campaign, but this encounter can work pretty well, especially if they have some right positioning, maybe open up the doors and get down far south, as long as the creature stays in view. I would argue that if they are down the stairs a little bit, especially with that railing, they would get some form of cover from maybe the tentacle attacks, but of course that's not going to help them with the scream. The Warp 3 Tavern encounter is a lot of fun to run. Make sure that you've got a custom playlist so as the band is playing as the party comes in. This whole encounter is likely to give them some kind of whiplash because it's just so different from anything else that they're going to encounter in the campaign. The party should be able to sit down and order a drink and just have some peace for a minute, just so they can wrap their heads around what's going on in here. Maybe the drow waitress comes around offering them some halfling finger sandwiches, human hash browns, something like that, just to make your players like a little bit uncomfortable. Regardless of whether or not they order anything, the door to the pantry room, to like the kitchen back there, should open up, and the party should be able to see the prisoners being kept inside. What they do after that is all up to them. If you think that if you think that the Battle of the Bands thing seems fun, you can run that as well. Honestly, I never really did. The having it de-evolve into a fight so quickly seems kind of off, and honestly would take away, I feel like, the party getting to choose how to engage with this whole situation. So I would, especially if they're trying to like come up with a plan to save people in the kitchen, they may not want things to just erupt into a big fight potentially so soon. So if you run the Battle of the Bands, I would consider what you want to come out of it personally, especially if the PCs lose. If you do want to try something different from the Battle of the Bands, you could have the inhabitants of the bar talking up a potential fight that might happen between Vischari, the bar owner, and Merschin, I think how you say that, who you can find in the sauna. Drop some hints about this while they're in the bar. Maybe there's like a bookie going around, taking bets on who they think might win. You can put up some stakes if you want to make it interesting for the PCs. And if the PCs choose someone, then they can maybe like let them control the sheet and play out the fight for themselves, if you think that they would enjoy that. At some point, it's very likely this is going to turn into like a massive brawl. So get your money's worth out of this opportunity you have for some humor and some RP and just for some like regular fun that isn't another fight while you still have it. Area F24 has some interesting possibilities if you're using my idea about the Devil's plan in Otari and their attempts to influence it. If your party needs some clues about that, you can have them overhear a conversation here, just to make clear that the devils are up to something. Depending on how far you are into that situation, you can even place some of the creatures that are switching out the townsfolk if you're doing that. In my game, I use Yin as the person that has been switched out, so the party can run into, the doppelganger Yin here, or who knows, maybe even the real one, and then they have to decide which one's the real one. Putting up that person here could create like a real spicy situation as they try and figure out what's going on here when they open the door. There's nothing wrong with running it as written either. It's a fine encounter, but if you're adding the devil plot line, this is a place that you can use to expand on that. I mentioned before that I had some trouble figuring out the Sugathi's thing, like who they were exactly, getting into their mindset. And so if you are working on that, Jafaki, I think that's his name, is going to be the culmination of that. Maybe in your game, the Sugathis are the ones who are messing with the Otari instead. As written here, there is a side quest about like disconnecting a poor Morlock's head. It's been in this machine, is like keeping it artificially alive, but it's not really a quest. Like it doesn't really go anywhere. So I don't know if that's really worth it, honestly. I don't think it's a very important thing. Maybe drop some hints about how there is in like the bar or something, how there's a new invention that he's been working on, and he's going to flip the switch on it real soon. And when the party walks in, there's some sort of horrible abomination in here constructed out of like Morlock parts and other things. You can just pick out a stat block, maybe add some custom artwork here for whatever this creature is. Which probably, if you're going to try to make this a fight that's on par with the other boss fights in terms of difficulty, you're probably going to need, because honestly, this is probably the easiest boss fight of the entire game. There's nothing wrong with that, though. This campaign has so many extremely difficult fights that your party may be sort of relieved at the chance to walk out of a level with a relatively easy boss fight. There's nothing wrong with that either, so don't feel like you need to make it harder. But in case you do, and in case you've got ideas percolating about what the Sugathi are up to, this is your chance for the payoff. The arena is the real boss fight on this level, and if your PCs want to engage with it. What I did to bring this thing into the mix was when the devils right next door to here ended up fighting the party, I had them actually run into the arena And then after the behemoth engaged, all three of those devils have 5th level translocates, so they just zip zap back home and leave the party to deal with the mess. The party can always run, though, if they don't want to engage with the behemoth. It can move through the hallways using its undulating step ability without getting slowed down, but it is very dumb. I think it has a -4 to its intelligence. So if the party really doesn't want to fight this thing, just let them lose it in the hallways. Because like if they're tired and they really don't want to do it, don't make them. It's okay if they want to skip this thing. Overall, this is a very fun level to run, with lots of welcome opportunities to roleplay and meet some interesting creatures with varied and dynamic combats as well. It has tons of places that you can tweak and individualize for your campaign, and it was one of my favorites. Take the time to customize it, and you're pretty much guaranteed to come out of this with some crazy story that your players are going to be talking about for weeks to come. And that's it. All the major encounters for the lab level. I'll be back with more videos on this and other videos coming up soon. If you like what you saw and you want to play a game with me, check me out on startplaying.com. Feel free to hit me up over on Discord. And if you'd like to support me, I'd super appreciate it. Links to my Patreon are down below as well. As always, please hit that like and subscribe button, and feel free to share this video with your favorite flesh golem. As always, I am the Game Master.